Well, welcome everybody, Crackers College Hoops. I'm Steve Ivey, your host of the YouTube channel. Tonight is the very first edition of Swollapalooza Thursday. We promise it's going to be litty. I'll have to check with Kevin Lytle, who is the official Liddy King, Kevin Lytle, the Colorado. And if anybody knows Liddy, it's Kevin. But as you can see, I've moved my studio from the rafters of Moby Arena. If you watch some previous videos today, decided to sip some tea at the Empress Hotel at in Victoria, British Columbia, and they were nice enough to give me a seat outside the garden. So we're going to be broadcasting from the Empress Hotel today, and I'm excited. I'm going to bring on. I have the two guests in the background. Let's bring them on. Joel Cantalamessa and Mike Rowe, Good Shep and Chorizo from RamNation.com. And before I introduce them and let them start chatting, I just want to say this is my very first live broadcast. And I did not want to do anything live without these two first. These two have, I've known both of you for about 20 years. Joel, I got to know through Ram Nation. Obviously, Mike through Ram Nation. And it's been a trip getting to know what I think are probably two of the best CSU fans. Joel with his RamNation.com, Mike getting involved with a lot of stuff with CSU and also doing Ram Nation Radio. And we'll talk about what's coming up with Ram Nation Radio down the road. But gentlemen, welcome. First, Joel, let me know. I know you had a tough time getting here. You had your last day of league golf. What's the deal there? How'd it go?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
I don't want to talk about golf. I had a rough. Everybody who golfs knows those days that you get off to a rough start, first hole, and it just rattles you. That's what happened to me tonight. And this was a format where you have 6 guys on your team and the first 3 scores count. My score didn't count tonight. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but it did allow me to get home and get on this the Swollapalooza earlier than I thought I would get, because if I was still celebrating, I would have been really pushing it. So it's all meant to be.
There you go. Well, welcome. I'm glad to have you. It's so exciting to have you. And then now, Mikey, I hear you're in New Orleans, right?
I'm in the Big Easy right now, enjoying my time.
Now, here's the question. Before we get it, I know we're going to talk about Pac-12 and conference realignment, but have you been meeting with Tulane the last day or two? Is that what's going on?
That's a no comment. I'm just here enjoying, and we'll see what happens after this weekend with Tulane and Memphis.
Doesn't sound like you're in the French Quarter, Mike.
I am not. This is a family trip, or business trip. I don't know. One of the two. So, like I said, we'll see after this weekend. As far as Tulane and Memphis is concerned, if this is a business trip or if it is for pleasure.
So, I've only been to New Orleans once in my life. It was about 40 years ago, back when I was a kid, and they say New York is the city that never sleeps. I got news for you. It's New Orleans. That's a city that never sleeps, and I proved it the first night I was there.
I have walked by many establishments that have said open 24 hours a day, and they are not convenience stores. But we didn't visit those. We've been the food here is amazing. Oh, one day in and the food's unreal.
Yeah. So, hey, before we go any further, since this is my first live broadcast, we got our first live chat. Aaron has told Mike, turn the phone to the side, Mike. What is this, amateur hour?
I'm trying to figure out. There we go. I was wondering. I was on. My face was showing when I first started, and then it disappeared. I went halfway. So, is this better, Aaron?
I'm sure it is. Looks good. Hey, and I want you to know, I wish I had some kind of prize. This is something. This is the very first comment, and I appreciate it. Aaron's a great Ram fan. I've known Aaron for a while as well. And
I wouldn't say great.
Aaron, I want you to know there won't be anything for you today, but I want you to know when you die on your deathbed, you will receive total consciousness. So you got that going for you.
Hey, Aaron's the OG podcaster of this group. So the Ram Sanity podcast, we miss that.
Yeah,
exactly.
we do for sure.
Dude, nothing was better than the food updates.
I remember going on it, and I pumped La Luz, which is one of my favorite absolute favorite Mexican restaurants in town. Oh no, CS Ram T, look at those faces for radio. There's no doubt about that.
We're missing Tyler, that's for sure.
Hey, so really do have to give Aaron a shout out, because when him and V had us on, I think Joel was the week before, then I was on, and that was kind of what kick-started the Ram Nation podcast. So shout out to Aaron and V, and thanks for having us on during COVID when everyone was doing these virtual happy hours. And yeah, since then,
I curse them every day for getting us back into this garbage.
There you go. Anytime you want to meet at La Luz and talk hoops, I'm in. Aaron, we'll definitely get together as the season gets going.
By the way, Aaron's like number 3 Ram fan. I mean, it's official. Joe Parker gave him a title and everything last year. Number 3.
Way to go, Aaron.
So, anyway, Mikey, before we move on, I wanted to, we can talk a little later about other stuff, but I definitely wanted to talk about tailgating. A lot of people are interested in tailgates. What does it take for you to pull together a tailgate? How much prep do you do? Because I've been to them, and they're amazing. What kind of stuff do you have to do during the week to get ready for them?
So to start off, my friend Keith, and Rob, we meet in early August, and we take out the schedule and we go week by week, and we set up a menu, and we talk like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. So the first week of the season, we did a nacho bar, right? And so I was like, I'll do, I think I did buffalo chicken. Keith and his buddy Arturo did pulled pork and just like taco meat, and then I got the chips and I got the nacho cheese. And like I said, this started in early August. As far as the week, game week, I usually start about Wednesday, just buying the stuff. Then Thursday, because we usually come up on Fridays to Fort Collins, so I'll start the cooking on Thursday, and then have everything ready and get up there. And like last week, I was literally warming stuff up in our hotel because we did not get an Airbnb. So yeah, I mean it's a full season process, but during the weekday game week, I usually start about Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's an amazing effort. I appreciate it. I know there's hundreds of other people that do too who attend them. So anyway, hey, let's roll. Let's get going on conference realignment. The new Pac-12. A little over 2 weeks ago, this was the Pac-12, right? Washington State and Oregon State. And then here we were sitting around on a Wednesday night, and all of a sudden things started flying on social media, all kinds of rumors. and then we wake up Thursday morning to this, and we had a 6 teams in the Pac-12. And that was, what's funny was, it seems like a lifetime ago. It was only 2 weeks ago. But I want to get you guys who've been, you're CSU grads. You've been very strong proponents of CSU athletics. What was your immediate reaction when you saw that?
Joel, take this.
Yeah, for me, Steve, I mean, 2 years ago, even a year ago, you would have been over the moon ecstatic about it. For me, I was like, okay, am I excited? Sure. But it wasn't like, for me, it was, okay, for once in however many years, we're actually wanted by somebody. That is a good place to be. And you are not in the group that was not asked to be in the new Pac-12. So while the luster of a jump to a conference with that name and to be wanted by former Power 2 schools was nice, but I think it was a little bit subdued for me. It took me a while, and when I know we'll talk about the latest developments, but once you realize, okay, we're in the group of 6 here, the group of 6 teams, and now we can go out and get the next best couple of universities to be part of this, then I start getting excited. The talk of Gonzaga, the talk of Memphis, and obviously those at least have been put on hold for now, for sure, Memphis. But for once, Steve, it was really nice for CSU to be talked in a good light and to be the wanted school.
Fair enough. Mikey, your thoughts?
I've been saying this for a few years. It's not about the now. It's not about next year. It's not about in 2 years. This all comes down to what happens with the Big Ten and the SEC, and this might be what gets the ball rolling, especially with the ACC's grant of rights and all that, because they're going to poach the Big 12. They're going to poach the ACC. And once they do that, we just need to make sure that we're in that second tier. I mean, Steve, you and I both follow the Prim. My team, Derby County, we're in the championship. And if you follow most European soccer, but especially English soccer, you have those levels. You have the Premier League, you have the championship, you have League One, League Two. We need to make sure that we're in the championship, that we're in that second tier. Because if we're not, if we're in with, apparently coming out today, if we're in with the Wyomings, the New Mexicos, the UNLVs, those programs that are cash strapped, that don't have the alumni that's putting money into it. If we're stuck with them, I mean, that's not much different than Montana State, than South Dakota State, South Dakota. And not to disrespect them, because they've beaten the crap out of us in football in recent years, but it is different. And so for me, this move was huge, because it is that first step going into that second tier, and it's going to happen. And I think there's going to be a whole reshuffling with now the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC, once the Big Ten and SEC make their moves.
Yeah, it's from my perspective, I mean, I was really excited just to see the energy from the presidents of these 4 schools and those 2 schools. And I loved, if you saw some of my earlier stuff, I loved when they talked about being innovative and nimble. And I like organizations like that. And I think these 6 schools are going to be very forward looking, and by putting themselves out in the forefront, that's what excited me more than anything else. I'm with you guys in terms of the other stuff. It's a little bit of a second tier thing. It's not the same Pac-10 Pac-8 and Pac-10 that I grew up with, and then the Pac-12. But I'm pretty excited about it. Moving on. So then the next a couple of days we started seeing the new Pac-12, and all of a sudden we got Memphis, we got Tulane, we got South Florida. How did you feel about those three schools at the time?
I did not like the South Florida move. Again, I mean, everyone talked about Cal and Stanford going to the ACC and that how you're going to have a team on the far West Coast playing teams on the far East Coast. And to me, it's the same thing. I'm like, we're going to have a conference mate that's in Tampa, especially whenever the initial move that you talked about with all the presidents and how excited they were, it was like-minded institutes. I mean, it was such a huge thing with that. And to go after a team in Tampa. So I could see why the Pac-12 lowballed them. I mean, if you come in, that's great. If not, I think we got some backups. To me, I would rather have Utah State than a South Florida. But I really want Memphis and Tulane.
Joel, any thoughts, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, I have an affinity for the Mountain West. So if I had my druthers, I'd go a couple of those schools, the ones that we've missed out on, quite frankly. However, knowing that that's really not what this group of schools was looking for, they're looking to branch out and go find new schools that have proven over time that they're committed. And you're trying to impress your potential TV partners. And so you had to go out of the footprint, right? You had to go out and find these new markets. I liked Memphis a lot. I mean, I think that's a clear-cut number one out there for a all sports team to add. I thought Memphis was a no-brainer. I was good with Tulane just because I guess they've been good in football, and it's a cool market. Mike's there right now, but a nice market for TV. I didn't care the slightest bit about USF. Not that they aren't worthy because they're in a big market, but just, I mean, really that just seemed like, as Mike said, just seemed a really odd fit. I think if it was me, I would have gone just for Memphis, gone all out to get them. Then you probably could have had an easier path of swaying Tulane to join as well without having to, obviously they went in and they lowballed. They didn't get the offer that would get the deal done. Maybe if you only focused on Memphis, that you could have made a bigger offer just to get them in, and one of the others, if they came along, great. But Memphis would have given you 8 right there, and it would have been a perfect ending to all this. You could stop at 8, and we'll bring up Gonzaga, but imagine that, having 8 pretty dang solid football programs and a 9th basketball or every other sport program. It would have been an amazing conference.
Yeah, the Gonzaga thing, that came up basically the same day they said they were talking to the 3 American Conference schools about football. They brought in Gonzaga, and of course that immediately got poo-pooed by the athletic director. Of course, I got excited as a basketball fan with Gonzaga, but then those other 3 schools were still alive, at least for a few days, and then of course, they're gone, and then we're back to 6. We're just following the chronology. It's amazing what's gone on. Every day there's something new, and then we go back to 6, and you go, oh my God, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, it's Utah State and it's UNLV, and oh my God, we're going to go to 8 there, and then the news comes out. When was it? Just yesterday, today. UNLV changing their, Utah State deciding to join, UNLV done. So then we're 7, right? And then you go, what's going on? What are they going to do? Mountain West down to 6, Pac-12 at 7, and obviously needing 8 to go to football. And Joel, when you talked about Gonzaga, it's a wonderful thought, but it ain't going to happen until you get the football thing under control. That's for sure. So I just kind of that was I'm sure they're talking. I heard that they have they're talking the same consultant that the Pac-12 is working with is I can't remember the name, but they're talking. They're the same consultant working with Gonzaga in terms of future direction too. So here we are, 7 teams. What should the next steps be?
Well, first of all, I mean they've really messed it up, because if you look at it and you have a level head, like the reaction is that, boy, this isn't what it was supposed to be. We expected more and wanted all this momentum. But when you sit back and you say, hey, hold on a second, this group right now of 7 schools is still a group that is stronger than the Mountain West as it is, or as it will be. I think it's still stronger. You still got some of the top football programs as a conference ahead of any other G5. So it's still a good move, but they did mess it up. It was just kind of a flub. When it was just Oregon State and Washington State, they went after the Mountain West like stealthily. They executed this surprise attack, and they managed to secure very smoothly CSU, Boise State, Fresno, San Diego State without any issues. And I don't know who's at fault for allowing the targeting of Memphis and Tulane and potentially other American Athletic Conference schools to become known publicly, but that was it was a damaging PR look, to swing and miss there and wear that egg on your face. And as any good commissioner would say, you don't extend an invitation unless you're 100% sure they're going to accept. So whatever the loose lips were that made it, everybody knew that that's who the Pac-12 was going to target, was those top 2 or 3 American conference teams. And that gave Tom Pernetti, the AAC commissioner, and Gloria Nevarez, the Mount West commissioner, time to counter and come up with a plan to keep their members. And, it's a little odd that they didn't target UNLV right away. It makes me wonder if we all have that right or not. I mean, I kind of wonder. We ran into John Weber at the UNC game, and we're talking to him about this, and I would never lead on to any private conversations that he divulged anything, but we did ask him hey, where the heck is UNLV in all this? And he wanted to spit something out and he couldn't. And he's just yeah, I better not say anything. And all along I interpreted that we kind of dropped the ball, that we didn't want to invite them. But now I'm wondering if we knew all along that they were hesitant to join. So because they are a bankrupt program, athletic department that is struggling financially, and how are they going to come up with 17 million or even part of that if the Pac-12 was going to cover it? So I think the whole thing was flubbed. I would have loved to have UNLV from the get-go. Maybe if you go after them as part of the first wave, they're in. I don't know. Clearly UNLV, with them turning down the Pac-12, they're not the like-minded athletic department university that these other schools that they did invite are. Because if you have the intention of being a competitive and playing at the highest level possible, you don't stick in the Mountain West when they've been decimated and lost their 5 of their top programs. So I maybe the Pac-12 has dodged a bullet by UNLV saying no.
My thoughts on that, and first of all, anybody watching and seeing my reactions, I'm currently watching that historic Pac-12 rivalry, CSU versus Utah State in volleyball right now.
How we doing?
Destroyed them in the first set, got killed in the second set. If that never happens with CSU, and they're killing them right now. CSU's up 19-11 in the third. So
you're telling me it's going 5?
Yeah, it'll go 5. It just seems like that's what we do at CSU volleyball. But yeah, this historic Pac-12 matchup, it's intriguing right now. So everything that happened today is, as far as the Mountain West is concerned, especially with, you see what they're giving UNLV and Air Force and what they're not giving to New Mexico and Nevada and Wyoming. That right there shows me that these schools didn't have the money to be able to make this jump. And we know, going back to a year ago, Wyoming's AD literally saying, like, we're not going to put money into this to make a jump just to make a jump. Like, they didn't want to try to keep up with the Joneses. But it's surprising about UNLV and New Mexico, because I thought those were two schools that would jump at an opportunity like this. And you can tell that they don't have the money. We know that Nevada does it. I mean, we hired their coach sadly, we hired their coach away from them. Like, we've seen that they can't put in money for facilities for football. And yeah, they have basketball, but what else, So it's kind of understanding with those. But New Mexico and UNLV, it's kind of a shock with that. And it came out today. Hawaii tried hard to be full members of the Pac-12, and there was not an invitation that was slid over their way. So I think, to us, we're like, oh, they're throwing invites, and people are turning them down. But I think it's going kind of both ways, where there's talks, and it's smart for a Memphis and a Tulane to say, oh yeah, no, we're in, we're staying. They haven't signed anything. They haven't signed anything like the Mountain West members have. So I wouldn't say that the AAC teams are out of the picture now, because, I think if they get the right offer and the way that Memphis's AD talked today, I think the Pac-12 could probably change some minds. And to me, I think it's all right. I think we're going to find that right combo and move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I think the key is to get that 8th team right away. And it's still, you talked about the Memphis AD and the comments he made. That was not a go away message. That was a come back with a better offer. And I honestly think I love the thought of having Memphis in this conference. I realize it's a little bit of a trip, but Memphis is a great city. It's Central Time Zone, so it gives us Central Time Zone games in football. They've been to a New Year's Six game. They've had they have a good stadium. They host a bowl game at the Liberty Bowl. And their basketball program is second to none in the Mountain West. They've had 2 final game appearances. I think they should throw everything they can at Memphis, and stop at 8 in terms of football. And then once you get the football thing worked out, I think it's once you get to 8, then you can start working with all the media consultants and seeing what you might have available, what it might look like. And then it's time to go to Gonzaga and say, here's something concrete. Get Gonzaga in, try and get Gonzaga in as a basketball school. Then you've built a way better football conference than the Mountain West. And you have an unbelievable basketball conference with 6 of those 9 teams playing in the tournament last year. And then Memphis didn't play in the tournament last year, but they're still damn good. And then wait around, and you might pick up. My hope is that the Cal figures out a way to get smart, separates from Stanford, and comes back and realizes that maybe they need to be in a Pacific-based conference. And to be honest with you, if you look at their budget relative to everybody else, they could dominate a Pac-12 conference with the money they have there. And I'd be surprised if they don't think about that somewhere down the road. But I would stop at 8 in terms of football right now. I would not try and it doesn't necessarily make it easy from a scheduling. 9 works really well for scheduling. But I would stop at 8 and then look to pick up another, and then you have Gonzaga and hopefully get to 10 total in basketball, get 18 games, and still have 13 non-conference games. I'm sure that would make San Diego State happy. So anyway, I think Memphis is the key right now. I don't know how you guys think about that.
100%. That I think. Okay, so they obviously went into that scenario with Memphis, Tulane, and even USF, and just kind of, I guess were they half-hearted? I mean, They clearly didn't make a good enough effort to entice those 3 schools to join. So if you were you had trepidation about adding all 3, just go for Memphis and put all of your investment into Memphis. Use that war chest that they've always been talking about to go make yourself a better conference by getting Memphis. Screw anyone else in the AAC. Go get Memphis. You don't need all those schools. Get them, go back to them, make a sweeter offer, say, hey, we'll pay your entire exit fee. If it takes 17 or whatever their exit fee is, 15, is it what it is? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Go pay whatever it is to get them out and get them in. This is what you have your war chest for. And so, if you're not going to use that to the best extent possible to build your conference, what the hell are you going to use it for? So I think if you get Memphis, you're even better than you would have been. And clearly, because that's who their first target, but you're definitely better than you would have been if you would have got UNLV in. Football wise, they're about equivalent right now, although UNLV's 3-0 and the darlings of the college football world, but basketball wise, major improvement over UNLV. It would have been awesome. I just think that if you have them, then it's going to be an easy decision for Gonzaga to join. So, are you kidding me? A basketball conference with these existing 7 plus Gonzaga and Memphis. It's going to be one of the top conferences in the country.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler, with be one of the top 4 men's basketball conferences, exactly. You got a chance, believe it or not. You won't be at maybe as high as the ACC teams, but your overall ranking against the ACC might be pretty darn good, and you could move ahead of the Big East, especially if you could sneak in UConn. But I don't hold out any hope for getting a UConn in for basketball. I don't think they'd want to travel that much to get into a conference. It's anything but the Big East right now, unless it was a bigger conference. So anyway, any other thoughts, guys, before we move on?
To me,
my last thing, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on at what point. So if you're desperate right now and you've added 5 Mountain West teams, if you were interested in getting one more, which was UNLV, potentially Air Force, I don't know if that was really an offer on the table or not, but that would be 7. At what point would you stop at 7 and not just go 2 more and get the 9 to completely dissolve the Mountain West? I know that would really suck for San Jose State, Nevada, and Hawaii left behind. But at this point, the Pac-12 has already chosen the FU route to poach only a handful of Mountain West teams. And now you're in a position where if you don't go for the Mountain West and you get denied by Memphis, again, with your best offer, if you do, in fact, go back to any of those AAC schools, now you're looking at Texas State and some of these like afterthought schools in the Conference USA or Sun Belt. And I don't know, at what point would you not just say, why would we do that and spend $150 million to do that and not just go after the final 3 of the Mountain West, enough to dissolve that conference? And then you don't have to pay any exit fees. You don't have to pay any poaching fees. Yeah, you're a total asshole for sticking it to San Jose State and Nevada and Hawaii, but that's life these days in college athletics. So, I think you're perilously close to that being the best option.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I would throw the kitchen sink at Memphis right now and do whatever it takes to bring them in. And I would hope that within Aaron. Speaking of Aaron put something out, a poll on X earlier today with an over/under of 96 hours before they make it. The Pac-12 announces Memphis is joining, and I've got the over. I've got it 120 hours because Tuesday's a better day to announce than Monday. So I think it's 100. I think it's
a PR guy.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I bet you there's got to be talks this weekend.
Yeah, if you're Memphis, it really is a no-brainer. Steve, you just brought it up. They didn't make the dance last year because they finished 2nd, 3rd in the AAC. They
were I think 4th. They were about 75 in Ken Pom net ranking, that kind of stuff. It was not a good season for them, and they've got some
tied
issues
for
this year
7th.
as well.
And we finished tied for 7th and got in. You
Yeah.
know, and basically all those teams are going to this new conference. So why would you, if you're a school like that, why wouldn't you do that? Because you're going to get instant credibility on the basketball end, and you know, Memphis is a basketball school. I mean,
It's a great basketball town.
Exactly.
It really is.
Exactly.
Imagine if things shake out and you've got if Gonzaga ends up coming aboard like was reported. You know, I've loved Mountain West hoops. I think this league could be even better. I mean, you just look at it, obviously you don't translate year to year, but you just look at the final net rankings of 2024, Gonzaga 17, San Diego State 20, Boise State 26, CSU 36, Utah State 38, Washington State 48. If you get the Zags as part of that, you know, if that's included in those numbers, that's 6 teams in the top 45. You know, if you could have nailed down UNLV and Memphis, that's 76th and 75th respectively. You know, even your bad teams, Oregon State, they had a rough season, but they're just 2 years removed from an Elite Eight run. Yeah. Fresno State, they've got infrastructure where they could be good. They fired Justin Hudson. They've got the Save Mart Center, if it's still called that, whatever it is. Hopefully they can rebuild. But, you know, I think that there's a couple of interesting dynamics. I don't know how much more we're going to talk about this potential basketball conference, but I was looking at budgets on potential league members. And if you look at Gonzaga, now these are a couple years old. This is the best I can find, but Gonzaga spends over $9 million a year on basketball. And that doesn't quite double up Washington State, but it's close. And Washington State's the next best. Right. So, you know, Gonzaga, as good as they have been, they also currently spend upwards of $6 million more than their league median in the West Coast Conference. So it'll be interesting to see how they mesh in with a group of schools that are a little more on par with investment wise and budget wise and competition. So, I mean, it would just be so compelling to be able to watch this unfold over the next few years, starting here in just a couple of years.
Can you imagine Moby with all those teams coming in?
No,
oh my God! Can you imagine what our season ticket prices are gonna be? They went up.
That's what you want.
The seat donation fee went up this year, and it'll go up even more. And you know what? That's awesome. I don't care.
Exactly.
Yep.
So anyway, have we worked this one enough? Let's move on. Let's talk hoops, guys. I want to talk. Let's just go over a little bit. I know both you guys attend a lot of games. Mikey, you don't have season tickets, but you use a Flex Pass, and you come up to quite a few games in Moby. Joel, you got season tickets, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So you come up to a lot. You travel a long way. What about this program makes you want to drive that far? I have an easy ride. I go 10 minutes.
I'll tell you, for me, it is. I mean, it truly is like a family with them. Like, you know, everyone knows I love Larry Eustace. I love that 2015 team is seriously one of my favorite teams of all time, with JJ and Stanton Kidd and I mean a very young Gian Clavel, but you know what Nico has done is you know, he's turning into a community, into a family. And, you know, I was talking with Matt Barnett, played in the 90s. I went to school with him. And he was like, Stu Morrill never let us do this kind of stuff. Never let us talk to the fans. Never let kids come down on the court. And it's stuff like that you just get a buy-in. And granted, they've won 20 games, 4 out of the last 5 years. Been to two NCAA tournaments out of the last 3 years, and that makes it easy to want to go up there. But even before that, when we had some bad seasons, I know Joel and I still made that trip, but it just, I don't know, man. It just, when they say team together, they mean it, and they don't just mean the 15 guys and the staff that's on there, they mean everybody. And so to me, it's a no-brainer on wanting to get behind them, and it's worth that trip.
Let's face it. I mean, we all want a winning team, and obviously the winning in this basketball program has helped us care about making the drive up from Parker, Colorado to Fort Collins on a Tuesday night at 8:00. But you also factor in, I mean, Steve, you know as good as anybody about this. You want a coach who is personable, who is accessible, who cares about the community and wants to connect with its fans. And it's not only the coach, it's his entire staff. And it's not just the coaching staff, it's the people that they bring in as student athletes. And it's just, I mean, they're so easy to rally around. And even when they're struggling, which, you know, are the last few years, they've had a couple stretches, you know, during the season where the basketball hasn't been up to par, but you still go in to support them because these guys are really easy to root for. And so I think that's what Nico has built, as a really good program with really excellent athletic student athletes, but even better people. And that makes it easy to root for. So I think that's, for me, that's why I like to come up.
Does just curious with you guys with football, have you noticed, is it easier for you guys to get up to Fort Collins with the express lane they added after Bertha?
Oh yes, for sure. For
does
sure.
help.
I take it every time. Like, I mean, we've had 3 home games in a row, and I mean, I've come up on Friday too, the last 2. So yeah, I mean, once you get through Denver, being able to hop on that right after Buc-ee's, right? Yeah, it makes it so much easier to get through. And for whatever reason, people can't drive on a very straight I-25 without hitting each other. So
yeah, it's fun. That's been a game changer for me wanting to go back down to Denver. I've stopped going to Denver I don't enjoy that I-25 ride, and it's a lot better now. We had to go up to Vail last week and drove through Denver on a Tuesday morning, and I didn't have any problems getting through Denver on a Tuesday morning, which was shocking to me. I didn't have anything where I went less than 40 or 50 miles an hour. So, well, that's good. So last year we had a great season, obviously NCAA tournament team. Favorite moments last year for you guys, Joel?
You know, beating CU is obviously a huge one. The game itself wasn't as dramatic as a lot of those have been. So that was probably tops regardless, because I just love to beat them. The top moment, I wasn't even at this event, but to beat Virginia in a complete boat race in the first 4 was awesome. It sucked to have to be there, but to just go into an ACC, go play an ACC school that has historically been upper echelon of the NCAA, and just wax them, that was sweet. That was sweet to me, and it was really cool because we hadn't been playing our best ball even through the conference tournament, and they just put it all together against Virginia. Played great defense. Virginia couldn't score, and you go put up a 20-point win against the Cavaliers. That was awesome.
Mikey?
You know, I mean, senior day was awesome. It always is, just to be there and to get that play card with Isaiah on it, and you know, cheering for number 4 for the last time, and but all the other guys too. I mean, Joel Scott and Pat and Joe Palmer.
Was it dusty that night for you?
Well, yeah, my allergies were acting up a little bit. My allergies act up a lot lately.
I'm the same way, Mikey.
It's the curse of Joey B. I think I used to always make fun of him, and now, yeah, my allergies start acting up too. But that was awesome. And then the Air Force game down at the academy. I mean, I mean, again, it wasn't a very good game. I mean, we ended up winning by 9, which actually hurt us because Air Force hit a 3 like at the buzzer, and so we didn't get a double-digit win, and so we dropped like 1 or 2 in the net rankings. But being there after the game and talking with Joel Scott's family and talking, you know, people from Wisconsin came in to see Pat's last game, and I mean it was just like, again, like I said, I mean it's a family, and being there and able to talk to them and just interact with them, and Willow, my daughter, like they gave out a bunch of Whataburger coupons, and she went up to Joel after the game and told him good game and gave him a coupon, and he just thought that was the greatest and funniest thing. Like he just loved it, and again, I mean, to me, that's what this is all about, and that's why, again, it was like a 9-point win. It was kind of a boring game, but it's one of those that I'll always remember for something like that.
So, you talk about dusty moments at senior night. Obviously, I had a great time at senior night. I got to wear Isaiah's game-worn jersey after a little bit of a hassle, which is a story I can't even begin to tell the whole thing. You guys know it, but I'm not going public with it. It was just silly. But Mikey, if you get dusty, I guarantee you I got a video that's going to have you going next week. I'm saving it. I think I'll get it looks like I will have Isaiah on sometime in the next week or two, and I've prepared a little video for that. And if it doesn't get you, it gets me. As I've edited it, I've watched it about 3 or 4 times, and it gets me every time. So, hey, what do you think this coming year? What are you looking forward to? What kinds of things are you hoping to see this year?
I'm excited to see Nick, and I mean, we saw how much he grew from, his junior year in Boulder, and kind of the role that he was in, to him being like that number 2 guy under Isaiah, and seeing what he did defensively and on offense, and now seeing him take over that top role. He's Batman now, and I'm excited to see what he does with that. I mean, we saw so many games last year when Isaiah didn't have the shooting in the first half, or was deferring to him, and we have seen him take over games, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what Jalen does. He's always been kind of that 6th, 7th guy coming off the bench, even whenever he was getting some starts. But I'm excited to see what he does. We were talking about that. He's one of those I was talking with Nico about this the night before the CU game. He's in that class that got screwed by COVID, because he didn't get a train in that off season, and he didn't get that extra year like everybody else does. So where Nick is a 5th-year senior, where Isaiah was a 5th-year senior, he's a 4th-year senior. So he doesn't. But I'm excited to see what he does, what he brings, and all these new guys coming in, like from the freshmen to our 4 transfers. And Nico's done a good job meshing the transfers into the program. So I'm excited about that. I think that a lot of people are like, oh, well, we lost so much. And I know Kevin Lytle brought up in an article this week, we have 10 new guys in this program, but I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm excited to see how Nico coaches them up.
Joel, your thoughts?
Is this Nico's 6th year? 7th?
Started fall of 18, right?
It's his. Jeez,
7th?
It's his 7th.
Wow. Well, okay, so I mean, that's a pretty good tenure for a coach at a school like CSU. We don't have a lot of coaches that stick around that long, quite honestly. But for me, I'm looking to see is this a program that is rebuilding, or one that is at the point where we can now reload. And there's a difference to me. Last year, I think the team reloaded with some big big time, crucial offseason pickups and transfers. And I think this year is going to be more of a challenge. There was a lot of pieces that you lost. And not to minimize the loss of Zay. I mean, he's the leader and the heart and soul of your program. Can somebody step up? Mike mentioned it. Can it be Neek? You need it. You need a leader. I think that the early season schedule, the non-conference schedule, makes it a little more manageable. I think coaches knew that there was going to be some unknowns and didn't schedule quite as heavy. You look at, what do we got? Ole Miss in a neutral site. Technically, you got Washington, Santa Clara, LMU, CU, and VCU. That's quite a bit different than what BC, Creighton, Washington, St. Mary's. So a little bit more heavy lifting last year, but if you can get these guys to mesh early and get a couple of, 1 or 2 wins against those early good net teams, those net opponents, that should put you in a good position going into a Mountain West slate that's going to have a good, strong top to bottom league again. And you look at the Bart Torvik rankings. It's the only preseason rankings that I've found that are that complete, but you've got basically 5 UNM, Nevada, Boise, San Diego State, Utah State, CSU, and UNLV. That's 7 that are in the top 90. So 7 teams in the top quarter of the country. So the league's going to be formidable again, and you got to be able to get some of these guys to mesh early and buy into the system, and hopefully it all comes together.
Yeah, it's funny. I went to a practice this week, and I'll talk a little bit more about a little more detail about the guys next week. Mikey talked about Jalen Lake. I'm actually looking forward to seeing beyond Neek. Obviously, Neek is going to be the kind of the straw that stirs the drink this year. But I'm looking at Lake, Kyan Evans, and Rashawn Mbemba, looking at the progress that I think they can make. To me, that's an intriguing story as well. What's really funny, I think the person who had the toughest role on the team last year was Kyan Evans. He knew he wasn't going to play very much, and his role was pretty much don't screw things up. But if you go back into the games where we had injury issues, you go back to even the Creighton game. He played good minutes at the Creighton game, but then after the CU game, when Jalen went out, when Josiah Strong went out, all of a sudden Kyan had some good minutes and he played really well. I rewatched a little bit of the Washington game. Kyan played real well at the Washington game. And I think with more minutes, I think we might see some of the things he can do. And I don't know if he'll necessarily explode, but I think we'll be very pleased with what we see out of him this year. And Mbemba was pretty much the same way. If you go back to the Creighton game when Cartier didn't play, and Mbemba was unbelievable against an all Big East player in Ryan Kalkbrenner. So I'm dying to see how those guys progress as well. And I expect Jalen Lake to have a real good senior year. I think we'll see Lake back in a starting role with Neek, and then the rest of the lineup, who knows? But I'm pumped. I think it'll be a little different than last year, like you said, Joel, with Zay not being there. You can't just walk away from a guy who's played 5 years. That's the all-time leading scorer and all-time leading assist guy. But it'll be interesting to see how they mesh, and it is going to be a challenge for a coach to pull team together is more than a motto. They've got to figure out a way, I think, to really build the chemistry both offensively and defensively and really get connected. And it's a long path. I talked to Nico a little bit about what I talked about him last a couple days ago about a road game here, a road game there, and he said, geez, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get a team that can win home games at the beginning of the season. So he knows the challenge, and if any staff can do it, I think these guys are really, really good. So anyway.
It's funny you brought up the Kyan Evans game against Washington there in Vegas. That is one of my memories of the year as well. And when you asked me earlier, one of my favorite memories, winning that game, by the way, was really fun. I think you were there when we standing on the court as Nico came off, and he was talking about the game, and he said, good teams win, great teams cover. And that's a kind of comment you want as an alumni and a fan.
So anyway, anything else about the coming season that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. So is Bowen Bourne a point guard? Will he be challenging Kyan there?
That's a good question, and I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's a pure point guard. I don't think he's a distributor. I think he's kind of a ball centric scoring guard. And in Nico's system, the point guard isn't the ball centric scoring kind of guy. Everybody shares the ball, and so he has tremendous offensive abilities. But I think if he's at the point, there's still going to be a lot of sharing of the ball. I think you're more likely going to see him off the ball a little bit, and maybe attacking from the wings, or being running the floor, running to the corners in transition, shooting open threes, going to the basket as well. But I don't think we're going to see him as a major challenger at the point. I think it's more likely Kyan and Rashawn Williams.
So, well, he's don't you imagine he's going to factor in with some pretty important minutes for this program? I mean, this is a guy
Absolutely.
that was freshman of the year in the Missouri Valley Conference, started all 25 games that year. He followed it up with the sixth man of the year, sophomore year. And then he started all 63 games his junior and senior year. Now in a COVID super senior season here. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to come here and not be an important component of this.
Oh, I think he's going to be an important component. I think he'll get plenty of minutes. I mean, he's basically, Joel, his career, I think he scored over 1,500 points. So you're talking about, if the one thing last year's team lost was a lot of scoring, and Bowen brings a lot of scoring. So he could shoot. He can really shoot. So I agree with you there, but it's a question of how it fits, how the roles work out, and where the best place for him is. But he'll definitely be an important part of this team this coming year.
There's a lot of guys that I'm looking forward to seeing this year. I mean, we just talked about Bowen Bourne, but this Jalen Crocker Johnson, can he be a presence inside and be kind of a Joel Scott type? Keyshawn Williams, if he can stay healthy, he was he was their top scorer for a couple of years and had back-to-back ACL tears, but he seems like, would that be like a Josiah Strong kind of role? And can he give you more than you got out of Josiah offensively? I don't know what kind of defense Keyshawn plays, but so those are a couple guys, and I'm really interested in this Ethan Morton from Purdue, who kind of lost a lot of playing time his last year there for their runner-up finish. But by the way, did you know he is from Butler, Pennsylvania, where the assassination attempt on
I did know that. He was, what's interesting to me, you look at a collection of these players. So Ethan, the practice I went to, he's very vocal. He's his leadership skills are going to be very, very important to this team. And I heard him hammer on a couple of freshmen when they were doing stuff. And he said, he may be freshmen, but you can't get away with anything. You guys got to focus. But, Ethan was, I did a little preview of the new guys. Ethan was the player of the year in the state of Pennsylvania, his senior year of high school. Bowen Bourne was the player of the year in Iowa, his senior year. Kyan Evans was the player of the year in Missouri, his senior. We have a lot of state players of the year. These guys are all really, really good players. And it's just a matter of finding the right minutes and the right roles and meshing them together. But I'm excited like you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Can we catch Serbian lightning in a bottle with the 7-footer from Long Island University? Nikola Japa, is that his name?
Japa, yeah. I haven't. I've been to 2 practices. I saw some video from practice, pictures from practice today. He practiced. The 2 practices I went to, he missed. He had just shown up on campus for the first one in July, and then I went on Tuesday, and he had stomach problems. He was spending a lot of time running to the bathroom, so he didn't practice. But he's back in, and we'll see. I think he's going to be important. But I think if there's one freshman that looks like he's going to play, it's Kyle Jorgensen, the 6'9" kid out of Minnesota. The kid's got he's got a nice offensive game. He's got to get better defensively. He's got to get in better shape to play Division I basketball, but he's got a really nice offensive arsenal, including a real nice jump hook from 8 or 10 feet. So that'll be fun too. But I have no idea how we have 4 bigs. I have no idea how the rotation will go. I think Nico will figure out a way to focus down to 8 or 9. We'll know more about that as the practices go on, as we get into October. But it's going to be fun.
What about this Darnez Slater?
I don't. It's going to be interesting to see. He's got a lot of size, a lot of length. He missed practice on Tuesday as well, but I saw him practice in July. I think he'll be a good player. I don't know if he's quite ready. The one that I think is the dark horse to get more minutes is the 2 other freshmen. You had Jaden Stepp and John Mekinen. Mekinen, I think, has a chance to get minutes. I ran into Joe Palmer at practice on Tuesday, and Joe's known John Mekinen from Minnesota days. And he said Mekinen will be an all Pac-12 all defensive team player. He's really, really athletic, and I think he'll be the heir apparent to Nick Clifford. How much he plays this year, I don't know. They'll try and find him minutes. He's a dark horse to get more and more minutes, I think. I don't know if Stepp will make it into the rotation this year.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts, Steve and Mike. Like, what contributed to the shooting woes last year? I mean, we started off first third of the season pretty solid, and then really fell off that latter half of the year. Is that just something that happens? I mean, it got really painful there for a stretch.
That's a good question, and I wish I had a good answer. I remember we talked. Didn't we have Nigon on last year on a Ram Nation radio? Yep. And I asked him a specific question. They really started focusing defensively, and that was the best defensive team that CSU has had in, I don't know, the Ken Pomeroy era. They turned into a really, really good defensive team. And I asked him, does it take your legs away when you work that hard on defense? And does that affect you on offense? And his answer was yes. And so that's something to keep an eye on, though. Nico's offense runs better with good 3-point shooting. And that was one of the struggles we had down the stretch. There were games where we'd go through periods. Obviously, that Texas game was painful, where the shooting just completely disappeared in the NCAA tournament. But Joel, I think it's a legitimate question. That might be something. Maybe we figure out a way to get Ali on or something, because he's a great shooting coach, and I'd love to talk to him about that. So yeah, Mikey, you got any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, when your legs are dead like that, it's hard to get off the ground. And we had the injuries too. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that. You look at Jalen, you look at Josiah. I mean, both with hand injuries. I know Neek was a little banged up. I mean, there wasn't anything major, but when you get beaten on and you change your mindset to a defensive mindset, your body's tired, your legs are tired, and it's hard to get off the ground for a shot, and you just a little bit off. I mean, it shows it at the rim, but that's last year. It's time to move forward.
Steve, you brought up Ali Farokhmanesh. How long can we hold on to him?
That's I remember Brady Hull asking me about that, and my thoughts on that were, he loves it here too. Nico's really happy. I talked about, when I talked with Nico a couple of weeks ago at the tailgate before the CU game, and I was teasing him, going, "Now you're going to make Pac-12 money now that we're going to the Pac-12?" And he laughed, go, yeah. And then he looked at me and said, "I'm very happy here." He's ecstatic. I think Ali is very happy here, unless the right opportunity comes along. He and his wife love it here. He's got a family. The kids are integrated. Ali's mom and dad live in town, and he's got built-in babysitting. So I will never ask him. I will never pressure him, because those are personal decisions. I think every one of those assistant coaches has a desire to be a head coach someday. Ali is obviously the most logical next step moving on. So it could happen if the right opportunity comes along. But I think, like Nico, it had to be the right opportunity for Nico. I think the same would have to happen for Ali. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he does love it here, and you see him, and you see his family up here, or in Fort Collins. I mean, they're Fort Collins people, and they love it. And just like Nico, it's gonna take something major to get them to leave, just like it's gonna take something major to get Nico to leave. Our volleyball team is just blowing a 6-point lead. They're down 23-22. They were up 22 to freaking 16.
Is that game 4? They're put
yeah.
the match away. I told you we knew it would go 5, right?
Yeah, and all because of bad passing. God. Sorry.
It's okay. I laugh. I have to laugh. So anyway, well, let's you guys just stay on. This has actually gone a little longer. That's a good talk. Thanks for coming on. The conference stuff is intriguing. Obviously, we'll talk more and more basketball, but I'm really ecstatic to have you on as my first guest. Before we move on, let's see, one more comment. We got a question from Aaron. How many years until Mike moves back to FOCO?
I don't know. I mean, we're actually looking at some places right now as a second home, but there's been some talk of some people from CSU have approached Tracy about positions, but she's not ready to do that. And so I think, hey, I still got to retire. I got 4 more years left with Para before I hit the magic number of 30 and 53. So it's gonna be a while.
Tyler's got some places down the street. I'm sure he'll take less than 3% for you.
Right.
2.9.
Yeah, I love that Tyler's on because I love anytime he posts. We were just talking about the Pac-12 stuff, and I just love his insights and his opinions. And he actually had a on the Ram Club message board, so it wasn't out in the public. So, but I loved his take on. He posted today. He rhetorically asked, why did the Pac-12 push so hard and is still pushing hard to get this built so quickly when you've got until June 2026 to get that 8th football member on board? Basically, you have up until next June to still get somebody on board and not have that exit fee double on you. So, but his theory, and I think he's onto something potentially, but he thinks that the urgency behind the move is because these moves are not being done for 2026. He thinks it's being done for 2025, and that the Mountain West teams that are leaving to the Pac-12 will negotiate a departure for 2025 instead of negotiating the $17 million exit fee. They'll just say, hey, we'll pay you that, but we want out a year early. And, everyone goes their separate ways for next season at that price. And he said that, this is another good clue that Oregon State and Washington State haven't filled out their 2025 football schedules yet. So I don't know, man, he might be onto something here. I think that's really interesting, especially when you look at the projected $10 to $15 million that you're hoping to get from TV. If you do get somewhere close to that and you're still paying your $17 million out and you're in that league next year, you're almost offsetting that entire exit fee in 1 year of revenue. So I kind of like the idea. I love that Tyler's on. Tyler, when I see his posts on Ram Nation or on X, I read them because I love his insights.
Absolutely.
I don't. Tyler sucks.
So
he's
boys,
he's going to replace you one of these days on Ram Nation Radio, Mike.
Speaking of which, before we call it a day, what you got planned on Ram Nation Radio in the near future?
Steve, Mike, do you have anything planned? I mean,
it looks like we're going to have
after the epic rant, after the epic meltdown. Speaking of which, how much feedback did you get on that?
I got a lot of agreeing texts, I did not hear from anyone at CSU. I'm hoping that nobody listened because I would hate to lose all that access that we've accrued. You know, Mike.
I know, right? I have heard from members of the Green and Gold Guard that they appreciated the podcast and our takes. So no, I mean I really got a lot of good feedback on it, and a lot of people like we're there with you, we agree, and I talked to Amy and John last week. They never said anything, so I don't think anybody's upset with us. I think there's a lot of people in agreement, and that's what sucks, man.
You know, yeah. I mean, Steve, you asked what we got going on. We don't do much with I don't do much with the site these days. I learned long ago people care about the message boards, and that's about it. We do the podcast more for our own enjoyment and getting to talk to people, as well as at times getting to vent. But you know, we do love we try to get on once a week with our podcast and Ram Nation Radio. If you search your favorite podcast platform for Ram Nation Radio, you'll find us. But you know, we've had John Weber on. I think we're trying to get on a quarterly cadence with him. Can't quite pull off the best AD ever and Joe Parker and do it every month with us, but yeah, I mean, this is what we love to do. We love to get administrators on so we can ask questions that we're interested in. We love to get current athletes on. We love to get former athletes on. It's really just kind of our own outlet for getting to talk to people. And so, you know, we also, I don't know, for those of you, probably anyone who's even remotely listening to this was probably part of our little fundraiser that we did for NIL, started a couple of years ago when NIL was first allowed. And we're like, hey, let's raise a little bit of money and we'll get a few student athletes on. They can write some stuff for us. They can join us for our podcast and we could actually pay them. It'd be really cool. Our first one ever was CJ Onyechi, and he was with us for the whole season. He was awesome. Like, he appreciated us. He appreciated the opportunity. We were paying him $100 for every podcast appearance and something that he would write. And he loved it. It was like he wanted to get into like media. And so it was perfect. It was a perfect match. Then we had in basketball, we had John Tonje, we had TV Jackson. We loved both of them, but they were gone the next year. And so it was really kind of soured me on NIL. And it was like, this kind of sucks. Like, all these people donated this. Yes, we paid them. They gave us some good content, but you want to connect with people. And that's one of the things that NIL is kind of blocking. But anyway, just went on a little bit of a rant there, but podcast is really the content we provide these days. And if anyone wants to pull their hair out about a lot of negative people over college football, you can visit our message boards.
I got to say, we gave them an 11-3 run and lost set 4. So it is going 5 like we predicted.
Well, anything else, guys, before we wrap up? And we're going to wrap up, of course, with the fight song.
2 things.
No, this is great, Steve. I'm glad you're doing this, man. I love reading your blogs. I love listening to your podcast, and now I will be an avid follower of your
YouTube.
You know, you're always welcome
here, and I'm going to expect you guys to phone in on the way home from home games. The goal is to do a live post game show about an hour after the game is over. I'm gonna bolt home, and I'll see if I can pull some quick interviews and quick video and post and bring those on. But then I want people to come on and talk about the game, and I want you guys. You know, we've talked with Luke Kingsley as well, and get Luke on and see if I can bring other people on as well as we get going in the season. The goal here, I'm only doing I'm doing 2 spots a week now, Monday and Thursday, but the goal is to get up to about 5 a week. Continue to do Swollapalooza Thursday in the evening, do my Monday morning cup of coffee, and then do a lot of post-game stuff, and then maybe even the morning after do a little more analysis and that kind of stuff. But, you know, and then more interviews, so I'm bringing more people on. So anyway.
Hey, where were you on after the CU game? I was waiting to get the call, and we were going to do it.
Yeah, I did send you the text. I I left with about 3 or 4 minutes to go. I got home in time to do it. I just didn't think it was going to be a very fun video.
I would not have been fun. I would not have been fun.
Would anybody have watched?
I went to bed. I had some beers and then went to bed. Slept well. But hey, I do have two things. First, tip of the cap to Coach Hagan and the football team. They went down to the academy, smoked them 0-4. So that is awesome. Beating the Zoomies in anything is great, but a lot of my donations go directly to the soccer program. So love seeing that. Love seeing them get off on the right foot and Mountain West play. And then the second thing, hey, they upped our prices in basketball. We got to show that we truly want to support this program because they need it. So get out there, buy your tickets. I know the Flex Pass went on sale today. What's the other one? Like the weekend pass or the weekday passes. Those all went on sale today. Get your tickets. Get behind this program, men and women's. I know that we always talk more on the men's side, but especially if you live in Fort Collins, get up there and see the women. You know, the new Ronsick, Emma, right? The older sister. Man, they got some talent on the women's side, but get up there, support Nico. I mean, what he's done for this program, he deserves it, and we need to be behind him, and we need to make sure that Moby's rocking like it was last year, because tell you what, I mean, we had a lot of good teams come in, and we blew the doors off of them because of Moby Madness. So, get those tickets.
It's funny you talk about the tickets, Mike. With the price increases, I'm very much in favor of it because I'm a great believer in life that you get what you pay for. The more you pay, the better the program you're going to get. And I shot a text to John Weber expressing exactly that. And I said, are you getting any pushback at all? And he goes, no, everybody I'm hearing from is basically communicating the same way you are. They're very willing. And so it's very, very hard to get a seat in the lower bowl now. And I would expect over time, the prices of those tickets to significantly increase. The other thing along the lines of buying tickets, the tickets for the CSU at CU game go on sale in a little over a week. I believe they're selling season tickets, and they go to a mini plan sale, I think, on October 2nd at CU, and then single game tickets, I think, are October 5th or October 6th. So be sure you buy your tickets or get your tickets to that one. I think this is a good chance to put the hammer on CU down in Boulder this year. So anyway, let's call it a day. I got one more thing to finish with. It's got to be the fight song. So let's get going on this, huh?
Thanks, Steve-O.
Thank you, Cole. Everybody, we'll see you on Monday.
Goodbye.